Hi, today I'm going to show you how to thread your sewing machine. I'm going to start by showing you how to wind a bobbin, and then we'll move on to threading the machine. Just so you know that my sewing machine is a pretty standard machine. A lot of them are different from each other in the way that they look, but most of the time the threading is very similar. On most machines they make it pretty easy. They put arrows on it, and you can also almost always download the instruction manual for your sewing machine. So we'll start today by winding a bobbin. The first thing that you're going to need is a bobbin, an empty bobbin like this, a spool of thread, and if your machine has a wheel that holds on the thread, then you're going to need that too. All machines are different, but most of them have some way to hold the thread on. This happens to go vertically. Some machines, the thread sits horizontally. So we're looking down at the top of the machine. We'll start by putting our thread onto the spindle that holds the thread. This spool of thread is the kind that has these little notches cut in it so that you can, when you're finished with the thread, so that it doesn't come unraveled in your sewing box, you can latch the thread on there. Try to make sure that that notch is not facing out. I've had plenty of times where I've had it facing out and the thread was running through and it got stuck in that notch. So just face that back and away from the path of the thread. And then we'll put this on. Don't put this on so tight that the spool of thread can't spin. Just leave a little space in between. And then you're going to take your thread and go through this guide right here. And then to wind a bobbin, you also want to go around this guide over to where your bobbin pin is. The bobbin pin in this position that it's in now is in the position to sew. To wind a bobbin, you'll end up pushing the bobbin pin over once the bobbin is on it. The other thing that you'll do is on your manual stitch wheel, you'll press on that so that it doesn't allow the needle to go up and down. So we'll take the end of the thread and then holding the bobbin so that you can see into the side, you're going to put the thread through and go up. So you're going in the side of the bobbin and out the hole on the top. And then take your bobbin over to the bobbin pin and snap that over. I keep this thread in my hand until I start winding the bobbin. Remember to release your manual. And then you can start winding. Once the bobbin winds a little bit, you can clip this thread. And continue to wind the bobbin until it stops. When the thread can't wind anymore because it runs into this little silver piece or this little piece that holds the bobbin in place, it'll stop spinning on its own. And then when you're all done, you push that over to the side and take your bobbin off. To thread your sewing machine, again, you'll need your thread on the top spool. Remember to watch for that end piece, that it's facing back. Hold the thread in place. And again, not too much tension. And now the thread's going to go across to the first guide. Again, just like winding a bobbin. But this time, you can avoid this piece because that's for winding a bobbin. And then you're going to go straight down. And then this machine actually shows you there's arrows facing down and an arrow facing up. This is the tension knob. So you do want to make sure that you thread it through there properly. So I always hold the top of the thread, take the end of the thread in my left hand, and go around and pull up until that clicks. And you'll feel that click and the thread won't come back out. Now it's properly seated inside that tension wheel. The next place you're going to go is through this piece right here. Make sure that that's facing up. Sometimes it's hidden inside the machine like that. So before you start, after you've winded a bobbin and before you start threading, you want to push the end of your wheel back in and get that piece so that you can see it. And take the end of your thread through there. and then back down. And then this machine has two little guides. It has a little swirly guide and it has a guide right above the needle. So I'm going to go through both of those, and then I'm going to thread my needle. So now you have the top of the machine threaded. So you have going from the spool of thread into the first guide, down through the tension wheel, up into this guide, back down into these next two guides. And as I said before, on your machine there may be a little bit different, they may look different, but they basically function the same way, and then through into the needle. Now the bobbin goes underneath the needle in the bobbin casing. So this door may look a little different, but basically you slide this back to show where the bobbin goes. Once your bobbin is inside the bobbin casing, you're going to take your thread and hold the bobbin in place, and with your left hand latch the bobbin thread underneath these little latches that are here. So the thread should go inside those latches. Once the thread is there, you can keep that thread to the left, and also you have the thread coming out of your needle. Turn your manual stitch wheel towards you. As you do that, the needle will go down and it'll pick up this bobbin thread as it comes back up. You can take your scissors and run them underneath to pull the bobbin thread up. So what you will have is your bobbin thread coming from underneath the needle plate and the threaded needle above the needle plate. And then you can clip the threads, leave yourself a good couple of inches just so that you have enough thread to begin and end your stitches. And then you can close the needle plate and you're ready to sew.